Hey everybody, I'm Natalia Bonner. I am super excited to share this fun little, it's actually a pillow with you today, and I'm going to show you my faux, is what I call it, echoing, teaching you how I do echoing on a design like this when it's larger than my throat space on the long arm machine. I add in a few little cheater elements, but I think overall you still end up with a really fun, nice echoing look. Before we get to the video though, I do want to let you know today's video is actually sponsored by the Perfect Press Tailor Clapper. Look how cool this awesome tool is. Stay tuned, I'll tell you just a little bit more about that. In the meantime, the thread that I'm using today is So Fine by Superior Threads. That's what I'm using on the top. The thread that I'm using on the bottom is Bottom Line, also by Superior Threads. I do all of my quilting on a Gamel 22-inch machine. All the products that I'm using in this video today are available for purchase over on our website, peacelandquilt.com. Let's get stitching. So here's this fun little pillow before I begin any machine quilting at all. Now, the video, the way I'm going to walk you through this today is similar to what I do over on my Patreon page. If you do want more inspiration and need a little bit of advice or help or tips or tricks, make sure you do check out my Patreon page. It's patreon.com/Natalia Bonner. When I look at this little applique pillow, obviously it's very traditional. It's done in the Hawaiian style of applique. So I want to add echoing to the outside of that to really just play on what's already going here and play with tradition. But when machine quilting a design like this, echo stitching around the outside and to do it like a traditional Hawaiian quilt block would mean 1/4 inch spaced quilting perfectly, echoing around the outside, and sometimes a little bit of quilting on the applique, but really the focus is on that outside echoing. The real traditional true Hawaiian quilts, at least from what I've observed, I'm not a scholar in this, appear though as if they are all hand quilted, and machine quilting, doing that echoing stitching like that perfectly can be a little bit difficult when working on a long arm. Having that perfect spacing around the outside, especially when it doesn't fit in your throat space, can be a little bit of a challenge. So I like to do what I call faux echoing. Now, this type of echoing is a little bit more playful. I add a few little elements into it, but by adding those elements into it, I'm able to still have a really beautiful echo looking block, but when there's imperfections, they do not stand out. With a design like this, the first thing that I like to do is stitch in the ditch. Well, outline is what we actually probably need to call it here, around all of that hand applique. You can see here that I am using the side of my 4-in-1 machine quilting ruler to help me do that outlining stitch. Yes, you can use any ruler, but why do I use my 4-in-1 ruler, especially when doing something like this? Well, it's really hard to find a ruler that fits every single curve and shape, and for something like this that's so design specific, it's almost impossible to find one. So I have taught myself how to use the straight side of my ruler or even the curve just as a guide to help me outline as close to perfect as possible, but I'm not perfect. Once I've completed that echoing around the outside of the block, then I'm going to move into that center section and I'm going to stitch in the center of that. So you can see that I did outline / stitch in the ditch around there. And then in the center, I just continue from where I was stitching. So it's just a continuation. And I'm going to do a square spiral right into the center, tying off my stitches when I reach that center point. All right, now it's time to begin some stitching. So you can see here that I do have the ruler foot on my gamma machine. I have this foot on there because it is about 1/4 of an inch from my needle position to the outside of that foot. So I'm loosely using the side of my foot as a guide. Now you'll see that I echoed around the first leaf, the first portion of this block, but then when I came into that inside curve, notice that I added in a fun little clam shape and did a couple of echoes around the outside of that. That's something that I'm going to do on the center of all 4 sides. Now, why am I doing that? Like I said, this is just a fun little element that I like to add in there. By adding that little element in there, it's making it so when my quilting is imperfect, when my echoing is not quite as perfect as maybe it should be, this adds a little interest and you won't ever actually notice that, oh, her quilting wasn't exactly 1/4 of an inch all the way around. Has some fun little elements. You'll see that sometimes I add a swirl into there, more than just a clam. Sometimes it's a swirl, other elements like that. But I'm using those elements and then adding echo stitching to the outside of those elements. I'll continue working my way around the block, adding those echoed elements, including the clams. Now, I don't want these to be heavily included. They're kind of random, so maybe in the center points and maybe where it curves out to the sharpest point. This is not something that's going to take over the quilt. It's just adding those extra simple elements to the outside of the design. Hey everybody, I'm back for just a second. I wanted to take a minute and thank the Perfect Press Tailors Clapper for sponsoring today's video. And I really want to take a minute and introduce you to this awesome tool. Okay, when you're machine quilting and you have to work with that excess bulk on quilts, a tool like this as you're piecing can really help reduce a little bit of the bulk in your seams. So this is a must-have pressing tool, often called an essential tool for tailors. This is an invaluable piece of equipment to add to your sewing, quilting, and tailoring arsenal. Highly effective for getting flat, crisp seams and creases, flatten bulky facings, collars, edges, buttonholes, and pleats. Press up hems, crease pants, press seam allowances open, even pressing knit fabrics. It's premium quality. It's made from premium quality, close grain hardwood for a lifetime of service. Sanded smooth with a perfectly flat bottom pressing surface. It's just the right size and weight. Sufficient size and weight for taming your toughest seams while still being able to easily handle, and it's very portable. It has an integrated replaceable decorative pincushion. It also has an integrated 6-inch scale for quick measurements on the side. The side of the Tailor Clapper has some deep grooves for secure, firm handling and comfort. It also has laser etched 6-inch scale for quick measuring. It's rounded on both ends and designed with side grooves for comfort gripping. Tapered for multi-size projects, and it weighs approximately 16 ounces. Make sure you pick up one of these darling clappers over on Cottage Lane Home and Gifts. Thanks for sponsoring us today, Cottage Lane Home and Gifts. Now I've moved down to the second half of the block, and I will continue the same process as I did on the top portion of the block down here on the second half of the block. By doing this, by quilting it kind of in two sections, like I said, I'm able to break it up and you'll never notice where the top half was quilted or the bottom half, because those echo stitches are they're really forgiving and they really help hide any imperfections. And here's one more fun little look at this design after all of the machine quilting is complete. You can see here now how a few elements with a lot of echoing around the outside really helps to hide any of those imperfections. I love doing this type of echoing around any design. You know, it can be done around a flower. It doesn't necessarily have to be on a particular quilt like this. Add it to anything you'd like. I hope you all found a little bit of inspiration today from my machine quilting. If you did like more of this educational style type video, do make sure you check out my Patreon page. Like I mentioned, it's patreon.com/Natalia Bonner. We've got a lot of videos there walking you step by step through my machine quilting process. Thanks for joining me today, everybody. We'll see you later.